out to the north of Lanzarote there. It's a beautiful view. I hope it's going to be, it should be good today. The clouds are moving all the time. And again, it's one of those works of Cesare Manrique that's beautifully hidden in the landscape, because that's what Cesare Manrique used to do. He used to restore abandoned places. Instead of building something new and using the space really that's very limited here in Lanzarote, because we know it's a very small island, he'd work on something that had been abandoned to create something beautiful out of an abandoned space. And that was his actual his talent, you can say. Now I've given you the maps. I forgot to mention the maps. Did I give you one? We got one. They've got Fuerteventura on the back. I'll just hasten to add that Fuerteventura is twice the size of Lanzarote and is 100 miles from north to south. So although each map on its own is to scale, they're not to scale against each other, as you'll see. But they're good maps. Payless. I've got a friend who works in Payless. That's why he gives me boxes of maps. They give good maps, so it's a good keepsake when you get home to keep with all of your photos and souvenirs of Lanzarote and Fuerteventura. But it's got all of the places marked that we're visiting today, so it's nice to follow your way around the island. I've also bought some books for you. There's a book about, there's information about birds. Somebody was asking me about birds yesterday. Something about the volcanoes and Cesare Manrique. But I'm a bit vexed. I can't find my photo album, and I've looked everywhere for it. And I am vexed because I'm very organised, you know. So the first thing I'm going to do when I get home today is look for this photo album, because I'm perplexed. I don't know where it could be. I've not lent it to anybody. I thought it was in the car. I looked everywhere yesterday evening when I was organising myself for today, and I got out of the car today and looked for the photo album, couldn't find it, so I don't know where on earth it's gone. So I'm sorry about that. I won't be able to show you my photos of my walks and my flowers. I bet you're disappointed, aren't you? And it's one of 4. There's another one down in Playa Blanca, and then 2 more on the coast of Arrecife. This one dates back to 1562, replacing a castle that we believe was built in the 14th century by a man called Lanzarote Manicello, who we think rediscovered the island, a Genoan explorer, who didn't come actually to conquer the island. He just came to, he used it as a base for his business for about 26 years, and he renamed the island after himself. That's where the name Lanzarote comes from. But he built the original castle, which was then destroyed, and that one replaced it. But it's a museum now dedicated to the history of the pirate attacks on the Canaries. Oh, wonderful! It's parking here. That's good. We're near to the centre. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to, for those who want to, it's your trip of course today, I'm going to go take you down to the centre of the town, explain a little bit about the history and the buildings in the centre, the most important buildings, and then I'll give you some time to have a wander around the little side streets to take some photos. If you know Teguise, or if you don't want to follow me down, that's no problem, as long as you can make your way back to the coach. You're not going to lose the coach, are you? So we usually have about 40 minutes here, so if we leave about 11:15, yeah? Those of you who are not, is anybody going to wander off on their own? If you know where to find us. The bus stands out like a sore thumb. It's bright turquoise. Look for the Saga bus.
Second dynasty after Betancourt dynasty. The first dynasty here in Lanzarote was the Betancourt dynasty. The island was conquered by Jean de Betancourt in 1402, and then his nephew Maciot continued to rule the island. However, Maciot became a tyrant and started to really badly treat the newly baptised Aboriginal people. And word got back to Europe, and they sent the Herrera and Rojas dynasty to replace Betancourt. Betancourt was arrested and taken back to Europe. So this palace here, you see at the base of the coat of arms, that's the surname, Herrera and Rojas. They were the second dynasty. Now it says here año, which is year, 1455. That was the original date of the original palace, because in the 1618 attack everything was burned down, so it's just really the foundations that are left. But the wood dates back to the 17th century, here on the door. And just inside, just mind this van, carving dating back to 200 BC of an Aboriginal foot, or a foot. And what the Aboriginals used to do, they used to put carvings of feet at the entrance to their doorways, and they believed it protected them from evil spirits. And they found a lot in Fuerteventura. I don't know whether you're going to go on any tours there, but they probably talk a lot about the Aboriginals there, because in Fuerteventura that's where they found the most original Aboriginal remains. So we'll carry on down here, this way. Shall we jump out at everybody else putting around the corner? Are we all here?
No, not yet.
Okay, this little alleyway is called Sangre. Just down the other end, on the other side of the wall, there's an even nicer stone, an old stone called Sangre. That means blood, obviously. And it dates back to 1569, when a very vicious pirate called Calafat came across from Africa and took all of the Christians into this alleyway and killed them. And the Sangre is the blood running down the alley. I'm sorry, that's
That's a nice
that's
story.
the history. You can't change history. I'll tell you the good, but I'll tell you the bad as well. Let's keep on going. Not like to say little happy ever.
Oh yes, I know. How it originally started.
Okay, so this is the Plaza San Miguel, St. Michael's Square in the centre of the town, and this is the church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The full name of the church is San Miguel Nuestro Protector de Teguise, St. Michael our Protector. But the Church of the Guadalupe was the patron saint of slaves and captives. The church itself was first built at the beginning of the 15th century, after the conquest, but it was burned down in 1618 by the big attack, and then rebuilt to the end of the red brick in 1680. The second time around though, there was no, they built it without any wood. The only part of the building that's actually wood is the main door. And inside it's all marble and volcanic rock, so if the pirates came again, which they did, they wouldn't be able to do as much damage. It wasn't the last fire though that happened to the church. In 1909, a careless choir boy set fire to the altar, and that's had its repercussions even today, because everybody's ecclesiastical papers, their dossiers, were all burned. And so it meant that people don't know if they're descendants of the French, of the Spanish, or of the Aboriginal people. They've no idea, because everything is within the church. And so the grey brick and the white dome were added in 1922, making it now the highest building in the actual town. The swirly designs on the facades of a lot of these buildings in Teguise is known as the Mudéjar style. It comes from Andalusia. I don't know whether you remember yesterday when I said that during the conquest, Betancourt had to make a stop in Andalusia to restock on food and provisions, and while he was there the ships were attacked, and he made up his crew he lost half of his crew and made up the rest of his crew from people from Andalusia. Andalusia was occupied by the Arabs, and so the architecture was very Arabic in style. So of course they brought that down here, that style down with the conquest. If we look around, there's little bits and pieces of Arabic designs everywhere. But in a few seconds I'll let you go, you can go into the church. This building down here is known as the Cactus. It's a beautiful example of the more affluent people's houses. It was built in the 18th century over the old demolished houses of the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition. But it's a beautiful example of how high the ceilings were and how high the windows were. The ceilings were high in the past to heat rises to keep the building cool, and the walls were very wide as well, again to stop the heat from getting in. All of the wood, by the way, was brought in from outside. There are no trees or forests here because we don't have the altitude for them. So most of the wood was brought in from the pine forests of Tenerife. The Canary pine only is found in Tenerife in certain parts of La Palma. It's a very strong wood in the centre. It's known as teya, like our drink tea. And there's still buildings dating back to the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries with the old teya beams on the ceilings and the old teya windows and doors. The Casa Spinola now is a museum dedicated to the timple, a tiny little Canarian instrument, and the best timple manufacturers or craftsmen are here in Teguise. So normally any timple players, they want a new timple, they'll order it from Teguise. So it's renowned for something nice, you know, not just all this death and violence in the past. Is that the music we can hear? No, it's not, no. It's like a little guitar. And then this building with the double ceiling here, that's the old tithe barn. There were 7 tithe barns in on the island in the past. And the people used to have to pay a tithe or a tenth of their benefits to keep the priesthood going, very much like in Old England. And now it's the head of the bank. This one was restored with the help of Cesare Manrique in the 20th century. So they're just some of the buildings here, but if you stroll down any of the little side streets, you'll find some very fascinating buildings with very nice facades to take some photos of. Okay, I won't keep you anymore because I've been talking too long already.
We're going across then now to the Cactus Garden. The Cactus Garden then was Cesare Manrique's favourite centre. Well, in an interview not long before his death in 1992, he was asked if he had a favourite centre, left because, of course, it was 16 years preparation. He got hold of the quarry, the old quarry, in 1974, and the garden was actually inaugurated in 1990. And of course, yes, they've been preparing the plants, they've obviously giving them time to grow, as you'll see when you go in. And like most of Cesare Manrique's centres, we've got this element of surprise. Again, you can't see the cactus garden from outside, but you can obviously when you go inside, you know, you can see, wow, you've got this big this garden of concentric terraces, and then just facing you, you've got there's a lovely bar at the opposite side. Now, if you don't like steps, that's okay. You can just avoid the steps by going around the outside perimeter of the garden. And the only part of the garden that's visible from outside is the windmill. And again, those of you who want to can go up the steps to the windmill. You've got lovely views of all around. And the clouds have cleared a little bit now, so the colours are nice and defined again, which is lovely. Now, the cactus garden, it's situated amongst the cactus plantations, the prickly pear plantations. The prickly pear played a very important role on the island in the past. It was brought across in 1830 from Mexico, and the reason it was brought across was to actually produce a little beetle known as the cochineal beetle, which is about 5 or 6 millimeters in length, that's all, and it thrives on the cactus, on the leaves of the cactus, and the cochineal is used to make dye for textiles, for cosmetics, and for food and drink. And I also found out on very good authority just a few months ago that the cochineal dye, the cochineal is used, the Red Arrows use it, you know, for their displays. It was discovered that what they were using before wasn't really eco-friendly, and so they were pressured to use something that was, and they're not very happy because it's expensive, the cochineal, but it's not doing any harm to the atmosphere. So yes, the Red Arrows use the cochineal as well now, and actually the biggest buyer of the cochineal that's still produced today, they still produce the dye today, is England. England was the biggest buyer back then, and it is now. So they started to produce the cochineal, and it helped to bring the emigration levels down. It helped the economy of the island. When we get there, I'll find some for you. There's a spoon they use, a very old spoon that's very practical, very good. And they scrape up the cochineal beetles from the cactus. When they're about 3 months old, they reach adulthood, and then they're left on trays to dry, and then they're crushed, and a very dark burgundy dye comes out. And I ought to tell you, ladies, it's actually the female beetles that are crushed. The male beetles, they have wings, you see, so they do their bit to keep the population going, if you get my drift, and then they fly off. And they do this about 5 or 6 times, and then they drop dead. Absolutely true. I'm not making that up, it's true. So, yeah, even if it's with a big smile on the face, that's what happens. And it's the females that... I don't know whether this... It didn't say in the book that they're smiling or anything like that. That's just a bit of poetic license I've added on, but there you go. But no, the females are twice as big. They're 5 or 6, the males are not very big, so it's the females that you use to make the dye. So I'll get some for you and show you. And they're seen on the outskirts of the garden, because they've got outside the garden rather. The garden is right in the middle of the cactus plantations, in an ideal spot really. That's where the old quarry was, and that's where Manrique had the idea of producing the garden there. And also a lovely cactus jam is made from the fruit of the prickly pear cactus. And the people of the island eat the fruit of the prickly pear, but they have to pick it, of course, with gloves. Because, of course, they're tiny little prickles. They soon get into you. As Samuel will confirm, I was doing a tour with Samuel just a couple of weeks ago, and we got to the cactus garden, and Cheryl jumps off the coach, like she always does, and, you know, full of glee, went to get the spoon, and I've not got the glasses on. And I went down to look for the cochineal beetles, and I reversed into another cactus. And I had all these little spines in my bottom. And I said to Samuel, I was in an hour in, and I said, you'll never guess what I've done. I said, have I got any more of these cactus prickles in my bottom? So poor Samuel had just tried to take these little tiny thorns out of my bottom. Oh dear me, out of my trousers. It was only a couple of weeks ago. So, poor Samuel. Oh dear me. So of course I always put the glasses on now. I'm going to get them out ready so I don't... Oh dear. You live and learn, don't you? So, I could see the little white blobs, but I couldn't see how big to see everything in one glance, but then you need to walk around and look at the cacti. They're all labelled, you can see. The favourite one is there's one that the Spanish people call mother-in-law's cushion, and it's a rounded one. That's like a little round cushion, and they call it the mother-in-law's cushion. Quite a few of those. They quite like those. I don't know why they chose a lot of those. Yeah. So I can see the actual windmill now. We're not far from the cactus garden, and just outside, of course, the main gates, there's a big cactus. It's 8 meters high. It's a metal cactus, and it's for people who have hired a car, so they don't drive straight past the garden. Why would they drive past? Well, because it's all integrated, like most of Manrique Centre. So you would know that you come to Manrique Centre. So there's I like it, the big giant cactus outside. And then also, the other thing I'll draw your attention to, Manrique was very much an ecologist, and he used to use a lot of recycled materials. So, for example, there's old scrap iron, forged iron on the main gates, and also in the bar. If you look in the bar, over the top of the bar, there's very old green bottles coming down with with the spike theme effect, the cactus effect. Used in a very artistic way, and also the theme is that the theme is the cactus, and the cactus, and so even the lamps have got like little metal spikes on them to give that cactus theme. So a lot of attention to detail. Is mixed the modern with the traditional. Also, the actual entrance, the kiosk to the cactus garden is the same style as what we call a taro. A taro was used by the Aboriginal people mainly. It was like a temporary shelter where they used to spend the night, the shepherds, if they couldn't get back to the village, or they'd dry the crops out in the taro. So again, Manrique has used the traditional with the modern in all of his centres. It's there to tell us that we can do that. We can use mixed modern art with the tradition. But it's all very cleverly done. It's all very nicely done. It's a nice, peaceful sensation in the cactus garden. So when we get there, if you'd like to follow me, I'll get the spoon and that they used to collect up the cochineal beetle. You'll see it's impossible to get lost in the garden. That's famous last words. No, it's not. You won't get lost in the garden. And it's between Mala and Watisa. Mala and Watisa. The two main villages. You found them, yeah. I'm on the east side now. A bit on the east, northeast side. Then we're going to go up afterwards further to past Arrieta, Punta Mujeres, to the Jameos del Agua. I'll just jump off the coach when we get there and just confirm the price, and I'll ask the man if there's a quicker way, we can go in without waiting, he might just tell me to collect the money and get the tickets ready for afterwards, so I can give them out as souvenirs afterwards. That's what they often do, and that way you won't waste any time queuing up. I'll just see, it doesn't look like there's another coach there, which is good, so I don't think it'll take much time to you to actually pay at the entrance there, get your tickets there, and then there is another coach, but I think no. So you can see the cactus plantations dotted around. You can see the white stains on the cactus. They're the cochineal beetles, and they're protected with a white wax, but it's like a white powder. But the beetles themselves are actually like a dark grey, very dark grey colour. We'll have half an hour inside the garden.
Sí.
No.
Yeah, well, they were taking them and then threading them like they make in the cotton swing. We actually saw it all happen.
Yeah, because they have a lot of silk over there, don't they? It's quite cheap, the silk.
Yes.
To get here, the little crab. It's come from the little openings at the end of the tunnel, which is underneath the sea, underneath the level of the sea. And there's thousands and thousands of them around the base of all of the islands. But they make their way up into the tunnels of the Jameos del Agua. So you go past the waters there, and then you'll come to the swimming pool. You carry on. There's a few steps, but just take your time. And there's a swimming pool. And then just beyond the swimming pool, you'll see the doors leading to the auditorium. Now, they're working on the auditorium at the moment, but you can go in and take photos. There's absolutely no problem there. The auditorium was added on about 10 years after the original centre was opened. Then after that, you need to get yourself back on up to the ground floor. So just by the swimming pool, there's another spiral staircase where you go up, and you'll find yourself in the second large bar area. And once you get up to the top of the spiral staircase, if you look to the right, you'll see a building with lots of windows. That's the Casa de los Volcanes, and that's the Volcanology Centre. So just walk towards it, and you'll see the just on the left. So you just walk on through. The first thing you'll come to is a relief map of Lanzarote, and then just a little bit further along, there's that big relief map of all of the Canary Islands. Okay, so it puts them all into perspective for you. And then just simply follow the little shoe prints on the floor, so you don't miss out any of the exhibits. Now when you come out of the museum, you just turn to the right towards the bar, and you'll see that the exit is just through the corner of the shop facing the second bar. So you go in one door and you come out of another. You don't need to go all the way back to the entrance. And I stress this because this is where people go wrong if they've not listened to me. You just walk on through. So the entrance and the exit are two different doors. The exit is just through the corner of the shop facing the second bar, just by the museum, okay? So we'll be waiting for you at the exit, obviously. Samuel will bring the coach up to the exit to meet you, all right? Now the actual tunnel itself... The actual tunnel itself, we think, was formed between 4,000 and 5,000 years ago by the eruption of Monte Corona, that big volcano in the distance. It's the largest volcano on the island. It stands at 2,002 feet or 609 meters, and its lava tunnel stretches out for 4.5 miles or 8 kilometers, 3.5 miles to the coast and another mile underneath the sea. And along its length, on the ceiling of the tunnel, there are holes where the ceiling has collapsed. Excuse me, and these holes are called Jameos, and it's an old Aboriginal word meaning hole in the ceiling of a lava tunnel. A lava tunnel's formed, if you can imagine, a very slow lava flow going down towards the sea. The outside of the lava flow, obviously on contact with the cold air, starts to cool off and slow down, and eventually forms a crust. But the lava underneath is still molten, it's still very hot, between 700 and 1,200 degrees centigrade. So that's still running. So that still carries on flowing down. So we've got this hard crust forming outside, and then this very hot lava, molten lava underneath the crust. So if that eruption stops at source or changes direction at source, so the crater, any liquid lava, any molten lava underneath this crust that's formed is just going to drain out. And it has done, and it's left this hollow tube. And because of the nature of the formation, obviously different parts of the ceiling of this tube have collapsed because they're weaker than others, and that's where we have the Jameos. And there are 17 altogether, 17 holes in the ceiling, starting at the crater, going all the way down to the sea. And Los Jameos del Agua is situated where the last 3 holes in the ceiling of the tunnel are found. And it's a very, very beautiful geological formation, which is what Cesare Manrique wanted to bring out for us. It was, again, the people started to throw building materials into it in the 50s, and that's when Cesare Manrique decided no, he saw the potential, and that's when he set about putting his project, his ideas into action. And it was inaugurated in 1966. Again, as you can see, when you go in, it's very much ahead of his time, because back in 1966 there was no tourism here really. They only just opened the desalination plant in '64, so obviously it was still very early days. But all of Cesare Manrique's centres have helped to contribute to the amount of people that come to Lanzarote. The Jameos del Agua as well, it's situated in the northeast of the island amongst all of these lava fields created there between 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. You'll see there's not really a lot of vegetation here. Again, there is compared to the south that we saw yesterday, but because we're in a sub-desertic climate, it's going to take a long time for a lot of plants to grow. The main plant we can see is this rounded one. It's a bit grey at the moment, I'm afraid, but in the winter it gets bright green. After a little bit of rain it goes bright green. It's known as the Teguise dulce. It's the official plant of the island, and in the past the sap from the Teguise dulce, or the sweet spurge, the sap was used to make medicines for respiratory ailments. But now, of course, it's protected under Spanish law. But you can also see a lot of areas where there's very little lichen on the rocks as well. So, of course, there's some bare areas. But all of the east side of all of the islands is a lot drier, because all of the humidity really is brought in by the trade winds on the northwest. So the humidity from the trade winds comes from the ocean surface. So that's why the west side of the islands, including Lanzarote, is a lot more fertile. Even in Tim and Fire, I know it's in the southwest of the island, but that was the most fertile land before it was all wiped out with now. This land is all protected. 42% of the Lanzarote surface is protected. And this has been protected. It's been classed as a natural monument since 1986. And I was going to tell you something else, and it's just completely gone from my head because there's so much to tell you in so little time. I don't think it was important at the moment. The main thing is that you know where the entrance and the exit are. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. And then after we've been to the Jameos del Agua, we're going straight across to Aria to have some lunch. Okay. Nice little village. Again, you'll see a difference in the landscape as we go across to Aria. These two little fishing villages, they've got past Arietta and Punta Mujeres on your maps, and then the next place that we arrive is the Jameos del Agua. Again, we'll see a sculpture in a second in the middle of the road here. It's a sculpture of a blind albino crab. Again, so that motorists, people who have hired cars, and you know, they don't know the island, they know that they're arriving at a Cesare Manrique centre, because again, it's perfectly integrated in the landscape. And that's what Manrique used to do. He used to just simply bring to life abandoned places. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. The tunnel was also steeped in history. Remember, it's where all the people used to come and hide during the attacks, the pirate attacks. The Aboriginal people lived down in the tunnel as well, because there are no caves here. And of course, Cesare Manrique played down in the tunnel, as many people did from that era as a child. So of course, it's not just a beautiful geological formation. Again, it's steeped in history. Many people used to hide down there for their lives and trying to fearing for their lives down in the tunnel in the past.
Which is unique. Oh my goodness. Wow. There are lots of places to sit down as well. Oh wow, they're running. What? Isn't that amazing?
I can't see a lot yet. Get down there.
Be careful as you walk alongside the pool, whilst looking out for the tiny white crab.
Oh, there.
We'll have to get the builders back to do a bit of levelling out. Let's have all these people walking down and my kids will say, you never did that, Mum. You never did when you were there.
Baja y te cojo. Nein. Oh.
Das war mein Einzel. Da hinten ist und dieser Lavakuhl, der
Jetzt noch einstürzen.
du, der ist sehr stabil. Außerdem ist so ein Einsturz passiert nur alle 1000 Jahre. Das merkt man vorher. Nee, das wurden die Köpfe schon längst abgehauen.
Voy a poner la mano para que
Da liegen, ich habe einen Ja, scheiße, weiß ich nicht.
No lo veo.
Luego de la época,
Wir sollen uns hier mal hinstellen. Hier?
Hier. Mama.
Soll ich mal da?
Pero café con hielo. ¿Un café con hielo? Dos cafés con hielo. No, tres. No, cortado. Dos cafés con hielo.
Kommt geflogen.
Maar zit wel te plannen, also niet dat ze zich maar kijken. Nee, dat is huis.
for going down the rail and nothing for coming up.
One of the problems is the long.
Sehe ich nicht, ich weiß es nicht. Malte sehe ich.
Mira, Laura, como una playa. Yo te vaya con papi. Y la llevas cogida.
Si no la dejas, no la puedo coger. Mira, mira, mami. ¿Dónde es mami? Mami, está ahí. Una válvula, hay una válvula. Una válvula más.
Komm, ich helfe dir.
Im Schwimmbecken ist verboten zu baden.
Santo Tomas and Nieves, and they had never been any further than Arrecife. And they used to have a little aljibe. They didn't have any running water, so they had the water storage tank at the side of the house here. And they had a little tap coming out just by the kitchen door with a bucket. So what you used to have to do, if you wanted to wash the pots, you'd fill your tap and go into the kitchen. You fill your bucket, you go into the kitchen. If not, you'd fill your bucket and, you know, go and flush the toilet, whatever. And that's how they were happy like that. And they were lovely people. They'd never, as I said, never been any further than Arrecife. And they had a telephone fitted under duress a few years before they passed away. And they had lived in one of those typical houses where most of the doors and the windows face southeast to protect the house against the trade winds. Very high ceilings. And the typical houses back then had no interjoining doors because a room was built and then another room was added on. So you had to come outside to go into the next room. And the only part of the house which had any kind of corridor was where the bedrooms went off. And I always remember when I went there, they used to make me very, very welcome. And I remember his granddad, as we went into the kitchen, on the left-hand side on the wall, he had a photograph of General Franco. And he used to love talking about Franco. And I'd be mesmerised because, of course, it was another kind of, it was another generation, another point of view. And he used to love talking about, he used to say when Franco was alive, we didn't want for anything. And it's basically what it says in the history books. It said how Franco was used to be good with the public installations. But this man was amazing. And he used to say to my friend as well, he used to say, how's your little German friend? He used to say, no, she's English, Granddad. Oh, well, it's all the same country. And it was lovely, though. He didn't mean any harm by it. It was just his perception of Europe. And my friend said when Franco died in 75, you know, these people had, you know, were a little bit lost because they were used to being told what to do. It's a completely different kind of way of living. But they were lovely people, really lovely people. And they used to make me so welcome, and I took my mum and dad there once, and again they were very emotional about the fact that I brought somebody else to come and see them, and it was lovely. It was really lovely. So I consider myself very fortunate to have met people like that, because so many people do come over to these islands and they don't get to know the local people, and they're missing out on so much. Do you know what I mean? It's I think somebody can always teach us something. You know, obviously our lives are very different from how their lives were, but these people had survived famines and droughts. These people who were around before the desalination plant was opened. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, Sam Wells from the island, again, his grandparents and great-grandparents have suffered the same as all the other people who were around before the desalination plant. Life was very hard. Right, we're just coming up to the Mirador del Rio then. Again, another sculpture, this time a fish and a bird, because it's a marine biosphere reserve and the bird life and the fish life is protected. So, of course, the obvious sculpture was the bird and the fish. So when we get inside, you just go straight down, you'll see the viewpoint in front of you. The bar's to the left. If you need the toilets, just go past the bar, and just outside on the left you've got the toilets. If you want to go onto the roof, you just follow the corridor down and turn to the right, and you'll see a sign saying Tienda, which is shop. And it's a spiral staircase. When you get up to the shop, just keep on walking, and the spiral staircase continues on up to the roof. And it's a nice wide staircase, so, you know, just take your time with the steps and you'll be fine. And the views are lovely. And we'll leave here, ladies and gentlemen, at 3 o'clock.
Kijk nou maar. Kijk die beelden.
Vale, corre.
Sag mal weiter.
Nein, ich bin
2 Stunden macht der Kopf. Nee, 3 Stunden.
Ja, want het Vesuvius is sulfur.
Sì. No,
Tranquilo, papá, no tenemos que ir.